Ahem, Franziska. Let us see what we can do about this. My case against the defendant is simple. I wouldn't exactly call it simple. After all, we've revealed several complications with your original theory. Have we? Have we really done anything? The choker, the smudged lines, the powered-down saw. Of the many things you are, a pedant is not one of them, Mr. Called Justice. It does not suit you. I will concede that the process by which the crime occurred has grown more complicated. Compared to many of the crimes I have seen, this one was relatively straightforward. No secret passages or anything of the sort. She has a point. Guess given all the personal reveals and ups and downs, it just doesn't feel simple. It is still just chalk lines. Just fucking chalk lines. Miss Jane Harper removed her choker due to the heat of the theater. Yes. It was pretty hot yesterday, wasn't it? Yes. It was in the mid-30s at its peak. Wait a second. Celsius, you fool. Oh, right. I'm still confused. How could the temperature be Celsius for an... Oh, God. I mean... Be that as it may, wouldn't the AC keep it rather cool? Not that we can afford to run AC at the office. I can explain this. You can? Remember back in Mr. Castor's second testimony? He explained that the AC was off in the theater that day. Ah, I do seem to vaguely recall something like that. It feels like ages ago, but... Something bothers me about that. About the AC being turned off? Well, imagine for a second that Mr. Castor wanted Jane to remove the Really? We're going this route? Wouldn't turning off the AC and making it hot in the theater be exactly how to do so? I suppose that Mr. Castor would have control over the AC. This also implies that while she wears her lucky choker, her keys are just jingle-jangling off of her neck. Like a dog. I suppose that Mr. Castor would have control over the AC. That feels kind of silly. It is his theater, after all. Objection! And yet we are well aware of the chaos ongoing in the theater. Who to say that the AC was not powered down due to budget constraints? It probably would be quite expensive to keep such a large building cool. It seems to me that the theater was running on a tight budget. It's not impossible, Mr. Justice, but I'm not sure it has much ground to stand on. I need more than just the theater temperature if I'm going to go anywhere with this theory. It seems plausible. Oh, God. It seems absolutely absurd. To that as well as the darkness of the theater, she smudged the chalk lines. That seems reasonable. Which means that Trucy had a legitimate reason to redraw the lines when she did. But she did in fact redraw the chalk lines, no? Regardless of the justification, it does not mean her actions were without murderous intent. She's right. We're the ones who brought this case to court, after all. Somehow I've got to point the finger at Castor. Got to give a spark Brushel. You have to admit that Castor giving her the choker to Brushel was very suspicious. I mean, he could have given Brushel his key to the theater. Objection! And yet you offered no possible counter to his explanation. He merely gave Spark Brushel the keys as a split-second decision. He failed to connect that the keys and the choker were one and the same. That seems like a solid explanation to me, Mr. Called Justice. I agree. There's no point in rehashing the same arguments we made earlier. Gotta offer something new. Oh, God. Hang on. That happens when I minimize the browser. And we now know that Trucy was telling the truth about the lines being smudged. Casting down your argument that she intended to mess them up. But she still redrew them. Objection, but she still redrew them. And so the defendant remains guilty either way. Fucking chalk lines. Chalk lines. If the prosecution stands that she redrew the lines in order to exact revenge upon her blah 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 blah. Yes. Very well. If the defense stands that she drew them incorrectly by accident, by the way, the defense is guilty. just can't just argue that Trucy messed up. You have to show that Castor redrew the lines after her. The fuck do we do that? After this, the defendant went to join the search for the choker, thus giving Patrick Castor plenty of time to tamper with the chalk lines. Yeah! Like, there's a ton of stuff that we didn't actually touch yet. Like, I don't remember that we've actually touched the tape. Like, there's Spark Brushell's notes, which has exact measurements he took of the lines in the tape and shit, and I don't think that's come up whatsoever. Like, feels like... Unless that came up back when we first decided that the lines were redrawn off. Whatnot. In which case, that was decided during the investigation. Patrick Castor presented one piece of evidence that showed Trucy redrawing the lines, and then we haven't been able to do fuck all with that piece of logic whatsoever, and it's frustrating. Show me the evidence, Mr. Apollo Justice. Give me proof. And what if I could? As I thought, it would seem that no such proof exists. I'm never gonna get anything but a whipping if I can't come up with anything new. That has always seemed bizarre to me. I mean, why draw more suspicion to herself?
Objection!
What's the point of any of this? Rage causes us to do strange things, Mr. Apollo Justice. Who's to say what was going through her mind as she made the decision? Actually, what was going through her mind? If she's innocent, then why switch the tricks? Hey, Apollo? What is it? What if it was Castor who got her to switch the tricks? Oh, great. Huh? But Trucy would have told us if Castor had done that. Wouldn't it be nice if we had an extra investigation day to figure some of this shit out, instead of just pulling it out of our ass? What if he didn't tell her to switch the tricks? It made her feel like she had to. Ah! Your Honor! Yes, what is it? Defense is an alternate theory about the switched order of tricks. We just pulled it out of our ass, out of nowhere. What are the reasons that Trucy made the box trick first? It's because Mr. Castor was putting her under pressure about it. Okay, prove it. How so? We already know that things in the theater were chaotic. What if Mr. Castor made Trucy think the trick would go wrong? How would he go about doing that? Did he plant the idea within her dreams? Not quite, Your Honor. That, however, is a real concept within psychology. Francisca, objection. Proof. Judge bangs gavel. Death. Guilty. It's entirely possible that Castor could make Trucy nervous about the box trick. Having subtle hints about how dangerous it could be about reordering the tricks. Not even saying it directly. Would it be nice if we actually planted evidence? If we actually set this fact up? Given how much Trucy trusted him. Castor telling us about how dangerous the trick potentially was. Trucy telling us in conversations offhand the second investigation day how Castor mentioned offhand stopped her several times, asking her about how dangerous the box trick was. Just little, you could have had time to plant this stuff through the case up to this point instead of just pulling it out of our ass in the middle of nowhere. An interesting theory. Objection. Proof.
Objection!
Thank you. This sounds more like an idea out of a video game than something real. Like a movie, but oh well. The defense is clearly just speculating as to justifications for their client's actions. So I'm gonna need more if this theory's gonna go anywhere. Don't get me wrong. That could... If you set that up, that would be a really cool method of going about it. That's like... not only would fit Castor's character, but would also be a neat thing for Athena to catch on to and expose. Because her shtick is psychology. I like this. I just wish it was given more time in the oven. You have to admit, there are a lot of loose ends here. Perhaps so, but that does not change the fact that there's a photograph of the defendant altering the chalk lines. Bane of my existence, the bane of my existence, Apollo. Yeah, it just so happened to be Patrick Castor who took it. Hey, that's something I can run with. Start pulling shit out of our ass, here we go. I take it this isn't going to be a very clear-cut rebuttal. Probably not. There's no glaring contradictions in her perfect case. And so maybe there's some chances for you to poke holes in her theory? I hope so. May not be able to point out any glaring contradictions. Maybe there's a chance that I could present something that casts suspicion on Castor.
Objection!
Presenting the choker here. I have an alternate theory as to why Mr. Castor might have given the choker to Brushel. Well, it was common knowledge that Jane Harper was likely to fumble without her choker. You're really gonna say this? Mr. Castor himself told us. Besides, I can attest to Jane having messed up the lines before. How is this time different? So it wasn't the keys that Mr. Castor wanted, but the choker. But the choker? Are you implying... I am. Could someone please fill me in as to what's being implied? Well, Your Honor. Mr. Castor knew about Jane tripping up without her lucky choker. And he could have stolen it with the intention of making her fumble.
Objection!
But this remains nothing short of an assertion, Mr. Justice. You have no proof that Mr. Castor intended such a thing. His reasoning for taking the keys could have been simply to allow Spark Brushel to open up the theater. She's right. It's definite progress, but I can't prove anything. Need something further. You haven't proven fuck all. I will outright admit that I'm following the walkthrough at this point.
Objection!
Gemini theater notes here. Hold on a sec. Eh? What is it, Mr. Justice? Then Miss Harper tripped up in part due to the dark lighting. Remember who happened to be in charge of lighting? Patrick Castor. I'm afraid I don't understand what you're implying, Mr. Justice. The lighting was too dark due to Mr. Castor working both light and sound, correct? Well, yes. That was our assumption anyway. But no, we did it on purpose. What if Mr. Castor knew of his lovely assistant's fear of the dark? And intentionally made the lighting dark enough to make her trip. Now we have both the possibility that Mr. Castor intentionally made the lighting dark, as well as stealing the choker in order to force Jane Harper to smudge the chalk lines. Okay. Both those possibilities do relate to forcing Miss Harper to smudge the lines. We still can't prove that he actually redrew the lines, but after a truce he did, but precisely, Your Honor. I don't know about you, but that seems like the perfect means of setting up a... Great, let's prove it. Alright, this is certainly worthy of the... Given both those arguments, it does seem like a plausible way to set up the crime. Not bad, Apollo.
Objection!
You pulled this out of your fucking ass. And did you still forget the most crucial part, Apollo Justice? Is a photograph of the defendant redrawing the chalk lines. Why does it matter if it was still Trucy Wright who did the evil deed?
Objection!
I'd say that photograph becomes a lot more suspicious given my theory. Okay, it's falling into place somewhat. Presenting enough circumstantial bullshit to actually make a convincing argument to discredit that. Which maybe was the intent of building up all of this circumstantial shit. Just finding some way to discredit that photograph. that Castor had to make her smudge the chalk lines to give Trucy an excuse to redraw them, so he could snap a photograph of her, and then go fuck with the chalk lines himself. So then the Saul trick would Saul up Nick, and then he could present the photograph and say, "Hey, look, Trucy, death. See, that is just me already." That's actually a line of logic that makes sense. I'll give you credit there. I wish it didn't take us this long to get to this point, but that's not really what I meant, Your Honor. Photograph gets more suspicious because of this. Because of the photograph. We called it when Patrick Castor took the photograph. Surely you are smarter than this, Mr. Apollo Justice. Patrick Castor's working the lighting and sound. You just happened to take a photograph of the defendant. You have absolutely no proof of this being a setup. But you have to think about it in the context of what we just discussed. Objection, in the context of a whole bunch of theories you proposed which we have no proof of. That's a counterpoint of Francisca's that I would agree with, but the line of logic that Apollo is setting up is actually making sense. If Patrick Castor intended for Jane to smudge the chalk lines, he absolutely could have been trying to set Trucy up. This is actually making sense. I have to admit, Mr. Justice poses a believable theory. It would seem to me to be based entirely on circumstantial evidence. Correct. Yes, you're right, and you should say it. He's right. I can't prove for certain that Castor did any of this. In that case, we must turn to Occam's razor, no? Occam's razor? When faced with numerous hypothetical situations, one must turn to the one which makes the fewest assumptions. Well, that would have to be the prosecution's theory, yes? Precisely, Your Honor. Unless the defense can prove his theory regarding Patrick Castor, then we are back to square one.
Objection!
Okay. Not so fast, Von Karma. I understand that if you break my theory down into its components, it might not be solid enough. It's fucking transparent. But together, I think I have a formidable counter-theory as to how the crime occurred. Alright. We're back to this. Let's hear it then, Mr. Justice. Gladly, Your Honor. Mr. Castor steals the choke from Miss Harper in order to get her smudged chalk lines. Ensure that she takes it off, he makes sure the AC is turned off. Knowing fear of the dark, see the fact that he's in charge of the light and make the lighting dark. He pressures Trucy to make her ready to set the drink, telling her to change the order. This is a fact that is just completely mentioned like once or twice, and now it's a vital component of the murder. For reasons? Question mark? Then having set her up, he takes a photograph of Trucy redrawing the chalk lines. Trucy leaves to go help Jane search for her choker, which he stole in the first place. In her absence, he redraws the chalk lines, thus completing his plan to frame Trucy for attacking Phoenix Wright. Objection. Where's your proof? You can put that way. It does seem to add up. Motive and opportunity and method, Your Honor. That's what the court need. Proof. Got it, Apollo. Eh? Athena, what's wrong? Look at her, Apollo. She's unperturbed. And I have a feeling I know what she's going to say. Damn it. I have to be right. All of it fits together so obviously. Even Castor's reaction to Thalassa. Have I missed something? You seem to have stopped your horse mid-race, Mr. Justice. And I've been on enough horse races to know that's a bad plan. It's because the defense realizes it too, Your Honor. Realizes what exactly? Said himself put together as a plausible theory. Exactly my point, Your Honor. Plausible. It's as it was with every single time the defense has tried to argue against the defendant's guilt. No. Proof. Oh boy, we're going to the same rigmarole again. This one, Karma. Surely you can see the merits of the defense's theory.
Objection!
I will give him credit. He is... It took several hours, but Apollo has finally dragged together a convincing theory. It is very vapid, but when he lays it out like that, it is convincing. None of the facts of the case have changed, though. You said yourself earlier, Your Honor. Where's the proof? What does the defense have beyond circumstantial evidence? Show me one shred of evidence of Patrick Castor doing these things. Show me one piece of evidence proving he drew the chalk lines. Allow me to reveal something, Your Honor. No such evidence exists. I wonder what to say. You have so much evidence that points to... Do we have any evidence that points to Castor? We have a lot of theories that point to Castor. I don't think I have one thing to prove any of my claims. You have a whole bunch of theories and facts that circumstantially point to Castor, but we don't have any evidence that point to Castor. I don't get it. How can there not be any proof? It's so obvious that he's guilty. I don't know. What? Hi. Mr. Castor. It's under the impression you were refusing to testify. Oh, yes, Your Honor. I am. I just wanted to see if the lesson was still watching for the gallery. He's in the gallery? I didn't even notice. Castor, you psycho! You know what you did. Oh boy, why is this still going? Jesus Christ. That's enough, Miss Sykes. I understand you're frustrated, but you cannot just scream insults at the witness. Yeah, well... Please, Your Honor. Don't be so harsh on the poor girl. She's really struggling with the reality that faces her. Okay, Your Honor. Athena, stop. Eh? Why? Why? See what Castor's doing? He's playing us. He's trying to rile us up to make us look like the real villains here. Creep. Wants to get me pissed off so I'll make a fool of myself. I understand your anger. I truly do. How tragic it is to admit one of your own could commit such a terrible act. How hard it is to face justice. You're sick, Castor. You destroyed Trussy's life just for revenge against her mother? That's not justice. Mr. Castor, I have certainly many questions. We've been over this, Your Honor. I plead silence. But you care to explain why, Francie? Me? Reason why I cannot be compelled to testify. Surely you could explain to Apollo and company. There is no evidence to indicate any wrongdoing on your part. Thus you cannot be compelled to testify. There is no such evidence against Trick Thunder. Except a couple of lying, cheating lawyers. Why is he back in here? Why is he back in here? You seem to recall a point in time when Damon Gant refused to testify. Invoked his right to refuse to testify. Left the courtroom. Then came back to refute an accusation at that point and revoked his right to testify. Why is... I don't get it. Why are we just letting him waltz back in here now to taunt us like an asshole? For drama. This is... How could he set it all up so no evidence pointed back at him? How did he frame Trucy so perfectly? Why is this still going? My name is Patrick Castor, and I'm manager of this fine theater. Magic girl just facade. Manager is real star. End quote. Everything was going all wrong that night. Of course there's no evidence. After all, you're the manager. The one who could plan everything. The one who could leave no evidence. The one who could commit this crime. So they did then. Finally. The justice's theory. There's nothing. No proof. Seems my son is at a loss for words. Forgive him, Your Honor. It must be so difficult to accept that his sister is a criminal. You! You monster. It would seem that this trial has come to its conclusion. It would seem like it, Your Honor. Why are you still here? You do an awful lot of talking for someone who's pled silence. Is that so, Your Honor? Suppose it's just a lot to take in. Besides, I am being baselessly accused of this heinous crime. Why can't the judge say something? Why can't the judge say, get the fuck off the stand? Why can't the judge say, since you refused to testify, get the fuck out here? Because I'm being baselessly accused of this heinous crime. Since you are back on the stand, I'm compelling you to testify. If you wish to come back on the stand by your own merits, I am compelling you to testify. Why are we just letting him do this, Judge? This is kind of ridiculous, even for Phoenix Wright. It's only sensible to plead silence when there's no evidence against you, no?
Objection!
Oh, you did this, Castor. That much is clear to anyone with half a brain. It's not nice to accuse your father of murder, but can we just get to it? Do you have anything further, Mr. Justice? How could I, Your Honor? He's the manager of Gemini Theater. He knew exactly how to play us all in order to get away with it. You are so harsh, Apollo. God, it's really how you treat your old man after years of separation. Go to hell, Castor. I'd be lying if I said your behavior today has not been unseemly, Mr. Castor. I'm afraid the defense has exhausted its arguments. Oh, God. As our current system stands, decisive evidence is what matters most. The evidence against Miss Trucy Wright remains decisive. Apollo, please, do something! The court seems no reason to further prolong this trial. We should have stopped. We should have done this hours ago. The defense is unable to disprove the prosecution's claim. The court finds the defendant, Miss Trucy Wright.
Objection!
What? Really? Really? Oh my God. Can we just get to it, please? What is this? This trial is over. Cease this at once. Why are you still on the stand?
Objection!
The trial is not over until the prosecution rests. Miss Von Karma, what do you mean? I've yet to present my full case against the defendant, Your Honor. Thus, my case is not yet perfect. What? What is the meaning of this? If this side supports the guilt of... Till all the evidence is fully established, I will not permit this trial to end. The prosecution does not rest, Your Honor. Very well, then. What piece of evidence are you referring to, Miss Von Karma? There is one piece of evidence in this trial that is not complete. Perhaps Mr. Apollo Justice can reveal it for us, finally. Me? Unless you prefer this trial end now. I'm fine with it lasting a little longer. Let's hear it, then. I don't know why, but Von Karma is trying to save my case. Better not throw away my shot. Incomplete piece of evidence, huh? I think this piece of evidence is incomplete. The examination report still says preliminary findings. Still says interviews are ongoing. Still says investigation is preliminary.
Take that!
If any piece of evidence is incomplete, must be the examination report, right? After all, it's labeled preliminary findings. You are correct, Apollo Justice. I will not permit this trial to end until we have seen the updated report. Well, it's not a perfect trial, I see. Shut up. This is slander, Your Honor, and being unfairly targeted. Shut up. The prosecution believes we must see the updated report, and this trial will continue. Miss Von Karma, you are to have the updated report finished and sent to us immediately. Till then, this court will be in recess. Oh, hi. You still exist. Detective, do you have the updated examination report? I do, Your Honor. I've been preparing it for some time now. I fear that the preliminary report may not provide all the answers for the court, and I do not wish for an injustice to be done. Oh, hey, it's the theme he set up from load investigation day, which feels like 200 years ago. Eh? After justice is just a set of codes and conducts. You, Mr. Apollo Justice. What? What about me? Yesterday, you and your friend came to me for help. So passionate, so filled with vigor. Today, as I watched you fight out in court, only to be limited time and time again by not having any evidence, you simply kept on pushing, Mr. Apollo Justice. Made me realize something. This court system is fucking ridiculous. I realize that just because the justice system may be broken, does not mean that I must be broken too. Huh? Detective Fell. Broke his monotone. I want to fight to make the justice system better. I do. That's why I present the updated examination report. Okay.
Objection!
What? As sweet as this discussion has been, my patience wears thin. What does the updated examination report reveal, Detective? A completed further internal examination of the victim. The bloodshot eyes can be attributed to blood pooling in the head. Toxicology report indicates high levels of CO2 in the bloodstream. We believe this resulted from inhibited breathing on the part of the victim. Finally, we believe the lack of cries for help resulted from the sound of the buzzsaw. That's the conclusion of my report, Your Honor. Thank you, Detective. You are dismissed. That is another thing that would have been felt more earned if we had a second investigation day to let that breathe. Just shows up briefly at the start of the trial. Vanishes as we bang our heads against the wall repeatedly. Shows up briefly at the end of the trial and says, I feel alive now because I watched you yell and shout and scream and while having no proof. That's all, Your Honor. We end this trial now. God. It can't be over yet. Well, none of those updates seem to stand out in particular. Nor do they change any of the basic facts of the case. Your Justice, your thoughts? Just got a lifeline. Can't throw it away now. Your Honor, the defense believe this update provides crucial new information. Information that could change the entire case. Alright. The defense is grasping, Your Honor. He has nothing.
Objection!
Just learned several things about the state of the victim when the crime occurred. Definitely have something. Like, that's another thing that would have made for a real nice conversation outside of the courtroom. Right? Real nice conversation outside of the courtroom. Instead, we just have to burn through it really quickly on the stand. Definitely have something. What the something is, I have no clue. Does Apollo have any clue? I don't fucking know. Let's hear it then. Which the change to the examination report do you believe changed the case? I'm going to prove that Castor did it. This is my best shot at doing so. What do these new updates reveal something? Blood pooling, high level CO2. Just one of these things. There seems to be any good explanation for the CO2 in the bloodstream.
Objection!
It's really a reasonable explanation that the victim's breathing was inhibited. Just how an excess of carbon dioxide is best explained.
Objection!
Maybe so, but why would Mr. Wright's breathing have been inhibited? I don't have any explanation as to why.
Objection!
Perhaps, but there's a myriad of possible explanations. Why does it matter, Mr. Apollo Justice? If there's not an explanation that changes this case, then why should we discuss it? Maybe a mystery, but I fail to see how it's relevant to this case. Does you have other thoughts, Mr. Justice? Would Mr. Wright's inhibited breathing be relevant? Maybe there's some explanation I can provide that would lead to some answers? Possible explanation? Sure. Alright then. Possible explanation. The defense can explain why the victim's breathing was inhibited. Eh? Is it relevant to this case? Yes, Your Honor, I hope so anyway. Do I already have evidence that might explain why boss couldn't breathe? Maybe. It's worth a shot at least. Trick box? Trick box. Well, recall that Mr. Wright was in the box for the trick. And the trick box is kind of absurd. Not exactly small. He's taller than me, at least. When me and Athena were modeling the trick, even I found it was cramped and hard to breathe. Mr. Wright was upside down in the box.
Objection!
What's got her so riled up? Miss Von Karma, what's wrong? You fool! What? Body. Just right side up, you fool! What? Huh? What? What is any of this? What do you mean? It was the feet in the trick.
Objection!
How could either of you realize this? Defendant, please explain the trick to these fools. Polly. Trucy, is this true? Mr. Wright right side up on the box? It's true. Daddy went upside down for the whole trick. He'd have fallen unconscious. What does this have to do with anything? Athena and I were testing out the box. Just assume that the bottom half person would be upside down. This makes no sense. Show recording, we can clearly see Mr. Wright's feet. Daddy wore the shoes on his hands, Your Honor. Otherwise the trick would have never been able to work. But wait a minute. Mr. Wright being upside down would explain the anomalies. Anomalies? Plural? Yes, Your Honor. The examination report serves to explain the inhibited breathing. Being upside down would also cause the blood to pool to his head. Both issues would be explained that Mr. Wright was upside down.
Objection!
Your line of logic is ridiculously faulty, Apollo Justice. Bennett herself explained that the victim was not upside down in the box. But how else do you explain the breathing and the blood pooling? It's the only sensible explanation. I'm lost. Trucy, are you absolutely sure that Mr. Wright was never upside down? I am. The only way the trick would work is if he was right side up. Damn it. Makes so much sense. Mr. Justice, do you withdraw your argument that Mr. Wright was upside down? The only way the trick would work was if he was right side up. Well, the trick didn't work. I have bad news for you, Trucy. The trick didn't work, so... I was also confused, but the body was found right side up. Is it really impossible that the body was upside down? What should I do? Was it upside down or was it not upside down? I don't fucking know. We're several hours in now. We're finally discussing something other than the chalk lines. It only took... What video is this? Part 7? 8? I don't fucking know. I've lost control of my life at this point. What the hell? The body was upside down. But he must have been upside down. Would stick to our guns. Fuck it, we ball. It's the only way.
Objection!
Yep, whip. Okay, you are a fool, Apollo Justice. The body was found right side up. But it stated it was supposed to be right side up. You testified that it would be impossible for the victim to have been upside down. Yeah, right. But I don't really have a counter to any of that. I'm afraid I must penalize you, Mr. Justice. Uh-oh. Better think of something in quick. Full defense, anything further? Your Honor, I think that the victim must have been... upside down, right side up? Why not both? Fuck it, we ball. Why not both? It must have been... Hold up a second. Huh? What seems to be the matter? We know that Mr. Wright was right side up in the box. That's what Trucy testified, and it's how he was found. Exactly why you have foolish arguments of victim being up... That doesn't mean he was right side up the whole time. What do you mean? Your Honor. What? Schrodinger's right? Sure. The mental legend said the victim was both right side up and upside down in the box. Fool! I don't know what's going on anymore. Mr. Justice, are you alleging that as long as the box is closed, the victim must have been simultaneously... Thank you for making that joke, Judge. Simultaneously upside down and right side up? We don't know which one he was until the box is opened? Schrodinger's right? Not quite, Your Honor. I'm alleging that Mr. Wright was upside down in the box at some point yesterday.
Objection!
Impossible! I don't actually have a picture of the trick box, how it is supposed to work. We have no good pictures of this thing. Would the victim have been upside down if he was discovered right side up? The one time frame the victim could have been upside down. Oh? At what point could the victim have been upside down in the box? We're given the schedule. Which isn't actually the show schedule, is a thing here. That's the answer. According to Trucy, Mr. Wright had to be right side up for the trick. That eliminates it being before or during the rehearsal. I'm really confused. If the body was found right side up after the show, there's only one time frame that he could have been upside down. How did he get not upside down? I don't know what's going on. In between the rehearsal and the show. At some point in between the rehearsal and the show, Mr. Wright switched positions. What? Yes, Your Honor. That's why his breathing was inhibited and the blood pooled to his head. And then he just went up, flipped around and suddenly... I don't know. The victim must have switched back to being right side up before the show began. It's hard the two things not have reversed themselves after he righted himself. He's got a point. Never do I have discussed why Mr. Wright righting himself wouldn't fix those issues. Mr. Justice, can you explain yourself? Please, some explanation. Why the blood was still pooled and the CO2 in the bloodstream. Hides one shot. I heard a blood pooling in the head. Mere blood loss. I don't know. Examination report. The one piece of concrete evidence that we have. We'll present it. Fuck it. All the time of the incident. Hey, what about it? It was struck at 7:14 p.m., which is only 14 minutes into the show. Mr. Wright was righted just before the show began. Righted. His blood might have never had time to go back to normal. So he was in the box for an hour upside down? I'm so lost. I see.
Objection!
Where's the proof? Prove me that the victim was ever upside down in the box. I'm not sure there is any. After all, the body was discovered right side up. Hold it. Eh? Trucy? Miss Wright, do you have something to add? Yes, Your Honor. Polly is right, and I think there's definitely evidence of Daddy being upside down. But how? We knew he must have only been upside down for a brief period. I don't know why Daddy would have gotten in the box upside down. If he really did, he'd have put his shoes back on his feet. Ah. There'd be toe prints in the shoes. What?
Objection!
Okay. Of course there would be toe prints. Victim would have worn the shoes out of the building after all.
Objection!
No, he wouldn't have. What? Remember that Mr. Wright wouldn't have been wearing his normal clothes that day. Like the pair of shoes on his fans would have been Miss Harper's. So Boss would have never had a reason to have those shoes on his feet, right? Exactly. You know, if there are toe prints in those shoes, it undeniably indicates that Mr. Wright was upside down in the box at some point. But on karma. Or the detective analyzed the victim's shoes for toe prints immediately. Okay. Why not? Well, were there toe prints inside the shoes? Yes, there were. Aha! So we know for sure it was Jane Harper's toe prints, you foolish fool, that the victim was upside down in the box between the rehearsal and the show. Uh-oh. Seems confident. This may be so. Does not implicate anyone but the defendant in the murder.
Objection!
That's ridiculous! It's clearly, I'm not sure it does implicate Castor. It seems the defense has realized the flaw in his argument. If the victim got in the box upside down for some unknown reason, he was right by the time the actual crime occurred. As such, the fact that the defendant committed this crime has not been altered in the slightest. Alright, time for another freakout, number 5001. Ah! Okay, very good. But why would the victim get into the box upside down? Doesn't make sense.
Objection!
Unless events can provide an explanation as to why, then it is relevant to us, Your Honor. This is game-changing, Apollo. There's no way it doesn't implicate the caster somehow. How? I don't fucking know. I know. But how? We need some evidence if we're gonna prove we did it. I don't think we have any. Well then, there's nothing else on this matter to be discussed. Yeah, okay. This is over, Your Honor. It just asserts that body switch indicates patchworked caster. Why? I don't know. Fuck it. We'll figure it out along the way.
Objection!
How, Apollo Justice? What evidence is there? The victim was struck by the saw in the midst of the show. How does the victim being upside down before the show affect that in the slightest? Why would he be? Think, Justice, think. Mr. Wright was struck during the show. Might set up during the show as well. And how does the switch position have any chance of implicating patchworked caster? Maybe. It's time to turn my thinking. Oh boy. Oh, here we go. Thought root noise. Alright, baby, let's do this. So we know that Mr. Wright was upside down in the box between the rehearsal and the show. Why did he get in the box upside down in the first place? Why not? Someone told him to. The only reason Mr. Wright would have been upside down is if somebody told him to be. After all, he was supposed to be right side up, and getting it upside down would be uncomfortable. Who would have told him to get in the box upside down? Caster, why the fuck not? Well, duh. The person with an opportunity to do so is patchworked caster. Besides, he was the manager. He had the authority to make Mr. Wright listen to him. He'd be able to help Mr. Wright get out of the box. Why would he do this? I don't know. We'll find out. And yet why? What purpose could caster have to get Mr. Wright to get in the box upside down? Couldn't have been related to the trick since Mr. Wright was discovered right side up. He was going to be hit by the saw solely because of the moved chalk lines. Why would he run the risk of reversing Mr. Wright's position inside the box? Make him unconscious? The only reason I can think for Mr. Caster to do this is to mock Mr. Wright unconscious. Okay. He might have been unconscious during the trick. Could have been a part of Caster's plan somehow. That's right, was unconscious during the show. Examination report, sure. Examination report does have one thing I couldn't really explain, the lack of screaming. Maybe Caster didn't want to let Mr. Wright scream for some reason. But why? Maybe Caster was worried that Mr. Wright was conscious during the trick. He might cry for help and accuse Caster of something. Right. Right, of course. Yes. Patrick Caster, you bastard, you fucked me over. That's naturally the first thing he would do when he was being sawed aggressively. But what? What would he accuse Caster of? No, he'd have no way of knowing that Caster had moved the chalk lines. Or would he? I thought Caster helped Mr. Wright get out of the box and got him get back into the box. Maybe he needed to make sure Mr. Wright didn't see him tamper with the lines. Does that explain why Mr. Caster needed to mock Mr. Wright unconscious? I don't know. It's a yes-no question, apparently. No. That doesn't explain it. After all, Caster only needed to make sure Mr. Wright didn't see him. It doesn't require him to be unconscious. Maybe Caster wanted Mr. Wright to get back in the box in order to move the chalk. Why would he need Mr. Wright to be upside down? His choices to stop him suffering. Kill him. Why not? To kill him then. Why not? Maybe Caster was trying to kill Mr. Wright before the show began. I don't know why, but how? Do I have any evidence? Evidence might indicate how Caster killed Mr. Wright if he did so before the actual show. Why not? The one piece of evidence that we've got that's actually been significant. Inhibited breathing in the examination report. Maybe that was because Castor was trying to suffocate Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright was upside down in the box, struggling to breathe. And Castor might have done something to suffocate him. However, Castor would have had to block any airflow into the box. Is there anything at the crime scene that Castor could have used to block airflow into the box? Like the curtains. Castor could have used the curtains. After all, they're large enough to cover the box, and thick enough to restrict airflow. Maybe to explain that wet stain or the pinprick holes? Castor must have pinned the curtain to the box to suffocate Mr. Wright. Why? I don't know. It can't be only an hour. I'm having to switch the position of the body back. Need a way to suffocate Mr. Wright even quicker. Maybe the reason for the wet stain? What might that wet stain be? Fire extinguisher! Wow. This is... This is certainly a thing to pull out of our ass. This is certainly a thing to pull out of our ass. There's so much more you could have done to make this not be an ass pull. There's so much more you could have done to make this not be an ass pull. Second investigation day, where Julius pores over the trick box and whatnot. You could find evidence of strange chemicals. You could find that the building's fire extinguisher had been deployed. That's a thing you can tell that happened. You can ask Castor about the curtains. You can ask about the fire extinguisher being deployed. I don't know. You could maybe set up a fucking fire he had to put out as a means of explaining why he deployed the fire extinguisher. Have that be something that he faked. Maybe there was a legitimate fire, which he had to deploy the curtains to smother. He actually smothered it, and then legitimately, some point earlier during the night, before the show, there's so much more you could have done with this instead of pulling this all out of nowhere. After all, those used carbon dioxide, which could explain the high levels of it in the blood, would be indistinguishable from a mere lack of oxygen. Castor did the deed after rehearsal and did everything like I said. The only evidence I would have is the used fire extinguisher at the theater. Castor might have gotten rid of it already. No, think, Justice, think. There's some sort of decisive evidence that implicates Castor, but what? Maybe Mr. Wright could have left a dying message. Dolly would have been alive for several moments before falling unconscious. Mr. Wright, he'd be smart enough to try and leave us some sort of clue. But wait, damn it. Castor made him take off all his clothing. It's all his personal items. What would he have had to leave us a final message? Anything that Mr. Wright had to implicate Castor. This is the evidence we're working with. Let me show you. Hi. Let's point to your locket. What does this mean? Could have. Again. Could have. Could have. We don't have fucking anything. Locket. Is anything Mr. Wright might have had on him? Would be his picture of his daughter. Castor was really suffocating him with a fire extinguisher. Might have had time to write a dying... With what? How? When? How was this not discovered during an investigation? I'm fucking mad. Got it. Huh? Could explain how Mr. Wright's position implicates something else. Yes, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm not buying into his bluff, Your Honor. Defense says nothing.
Objection!
Can't try, Miss Von Karma. You explain not only how Mr. Wright's position implicates Patrick Castor, you explain exactly how Patrick Castor committed this crime. Oh, God. Here we go. Do explain, Mr. Justice. Your Honor. And the reason I can conceive of Mr. Wright to have gotten into the box upside down is that Patrick Castor told him to.
Objection!
Where's your proof? Preposterous! Why couldn't it have been the defendant who did so? She was away. Yes, a fair question. That's actually a good answer. There's no way she told him to get back in the box. I don't know, the choker? She was away? Why not? We'll try that. Yes, that's right. Tracy was helping Miss Harper look for a choker at the time. Yes. It means neither of them could have told Mr. Wright to get in the box upside down, leaving only one person. Patrick Castor.
Objection!
Even so, what does it matter? How does this prove that Patrick Castor moved the chalk lines? Patrick Castor was going to move the chalk lines he couldn't have Mr. Wright see. Hence why he needed Mr. Wright to get back in the box.
Objection!
I know. No proof, right? Yeah. No need to prove that Patrick Castor moved the chalk lines. Because that's not how he committed the crime. What? If not by moving the chalk lines, then how? Mr. Wright was upside down in the box because Castor told him to be. Tracy told us that Mr. Wright would definitely fall unconscious.
Objection!
But we know that the victim was right side up during this show. That means that he must have been conscious in order to get back in the box in the correct position.
Objection!
None of Patrick Castor changed his position for him. After trying to fucking smother him even quicker with a fire extinguisher, apparently, for reasons. Eh? What is that supposed to mean? I don't fucking know. Defense would like to assert that Mr. Wright was attacked before the show, Your Honor. No, you don't mean... Paulo? Maybe that's why his shoes were tied back. What? That's a thing? That's a fact? What? Eh? What is she talking about? Boss's shoes were tied backwards because the culprit took them off and put them back on. Boy, I wish that was a fact we had in evidence that we could reference. No way. It gives me more credence to my theory. My shoes surely aren't your coup de grace, Mr. Justice. Makes sense, but I wish that was a Of course not, Your Honor. Gemini Theater has never had an accident before. Tell me, what do you mean if the fire extinguisher had been used? Fire extinguisher? I'm not sure I understand. Fire extinguishers use carbon dioxide to put out fires. They deprive fires of their oxygen.
Objection!
I cannot believe this. Do you mean to say? Yes, I do. Castor covered the buttons with the box with the currents at this stage. Explains why they were wet and filled with pinpricks. Sprayed the fire extinguisher into the box to suffocate Mr. Wright. Are you saying that he sprayed it through the pinpricks? Are you saying that you sprayed it through pinpricks? Do you know how fire extinguishers work? Then switch the now comatose body to be upright again. It's not like a hose filled with carbon dioxide. It sprays chemicals. There would be traces of this shit. There would be traces of this left behind that would have made for interesting investigation discussions. But we got this instead. That being when he took the shoes off Mr. Wright's feet and put them back on his hands, tying them himself. You fool! Finally, shifted the chalk lines. This also explains why Castor would pressure Trucy to switch the order of tricks. So he could just have Mr. Wright's body sitting around for hours. But what about evidence? Evidence, Your Honor? That's easy. The evidence you need is at the Gemini Theater. You know what? You might have even been able to get away with this. How's that for the end of your perfect case? Bullshit. This is just unbelievable. Believe it. God. Believe that. Now, not to harp on this more and more, this point more and more, but I think you could have made something. You split this to a 2-day trial point. I think you could have made something of having like a fire backstage. It would have like it would have just like added more to the point of things going wrong that day. It made it a part of Castor's plan to explain, cover up the use of the fire extinguisher. Would have that actually entered into evidence that we can reference later. Fire extinguisher and curtains. They're unique things that we pointed out during the first investigation, which we just ignored and never entered into the court record. So it wasn't relevant until it was suddenly relevant. And could have had that been a nice event, mystery. Hell, have Jane involved in that. Have that something that she witnessed. Maybe have that something Thalassa witnessed some point early on in the rehearsal that tied her to the rehearsal in some way. That'd be something that Jane testifies to the first trial day, before Thalassa takes the stand, and we have our Gremier family drama that gets revealed and ends the first trial day. Then, second trial day, second investigation, we are looking into the fire and start uncovering the further mysteries of Castor and the ties to the Gremier name. Have him start throwing out there some of the more sordid theories that they were proposing for the Gremiers. Not even directly implicating Thalassa. Just introduce some of that shit in a second trial day before we give us a reason to make some of these leaps that we've been making in this excessively long, unbroken trial segment. Oh, and one more thing. I have a question, Miss Von Karma. What? Mr. Wright had this on his person when he was found. The locket. I'd have had the locket. Mr. Wright took off all of his personal accessories. I gave them to you. I gave them to you. It's just been sitting in your court record of Mr. Called Justice as random Phoenix's stuff. Don't tell me you haven't actually looked at them, have you? Except for the locket gripped in his hand. We probably could have figured that out if we had actually looked through the item in our court record labeled Phoenix's stuff. We can't examine, it's just stuff, and we haven't used it. It has not been important whatsoever fucking ever. I'm getting so salty, I'm sorry. Your Honor, I'd like to request that the bottom of the box be scrutinized closely. I think Mr. Wright might have left us a final message. Very well then. Miss Von Karma. Mr. Justice, there's a test immediately. Bailiff, take Patrick Castor into custody. Oh, great. Okay, that's actually fair. If these theories are true, we must not be allowed to escape. Here we go. We're in the endgame now. Oh boy, locket. Yeah. We have it. Hello, Truce. Okay. It's his stuff updated. Doesn't include his locket. Yay! Alright, very good. Now what? Now we wait some more. While we wait for the results of the investigation, I have a couple questions about your theory, Mr. Justice. Yes, Your Honor? Do you mean to say that Mr. Wright entered his comatose state due to being suffocated? That's correct, That's correct, Your Honor. The saw trick was merely a means to frame Trucy. That does turn out to be the case. One thing seems remiss. Why? He wouldn't need to suffocate the victim if he was already planning to tamper with the trick, would he? I'll admit that doesn't really seem to make much sense. After all, suffocating Mr. Wright would leave behind more evidence to incriminate himself. Go through all the trouble when he could just use the saw trick as his sole method. It seems the defense is at a loss for words, Your Honor. Yes, quite. Mr. Justice? You need an explanation pronto. Hey, Bob? Yeah? I have an idea. There's yet to be an explanation as to why Boss only fell comatose. After all, if the saw had struck his torso rather than his legs, he'd probably have died immediately. That help explain why Castor wanted to suffocate Mr. Wright? Mr. Justice, I'm waiting. Mr. Wright lived. It couldn't have been part of the plan. If the saw had struck his torso rather than his legs, he would have died during the show. Castor only moved the chalk lines a foot. Why? Castor could have easily ensured that Mr. Wright was dead in the show by moving them further. It doesn't make any sense. Is there a reason why he'd only move the chalk lines a small amount? Maybe. Maybe there was something or someone who could have ruined his plan if he moved them too far. Your Honor, here's my theory as to why Castor would attack Mr. Wright below the show. Spark Brushel. False. Here's my evidence. I don't understand. There's nothing to understand, Your Honor. He has nothing. Won't force me to reconsider the possibility of your theory, Mr. Justice. Penalty! Youch! Better not blow it now. Someone might get in the way. Thalassa? Let's go with the old Joker and Geese. What? No? Someone might get in the way. Who? I don't know. Trucy? Consider the role of the photo of Trucy in my theory. I believe you took it to frame, correct? Yes, Your Honor. What does that tell us about Trucy? It seems to tell us that she's the culprit with Apollo Justice. Not really what I was going for. Tell us that she'd redraw the chalk lines if she noticed they were messed up, right? Bingo! If Castor wanted to avoid Trucy noticing, there's one thing he had to do. I'm not sure I follow. What does that have to do with attacking Mr. Wright before the show? Your Honor, as you were trying to move the chalk lines to cause the saw to hit Mr. Wright. Big frog, Mr. Justice, what do you think I am? Just hypothetical, Your Honor. Ahem, right then. I imagine that you knew if you moved the chalk lines too much, then someone would fix them, ruining your plans. Well, still speaking entirely hypothetically, I would... Ah, exactly, Your Honor. Why are we getting the chorus theme now? What? You only move the lines suddenly, so as to not be noticed. What is happening? Well, the reason Mr. Wright wasn't killed by the saw, because the chalk lines weren't moved far enough. Castor could only move those chalk lines slightly, so as to not be fixed by Trucy. That's why the saw only struck Mr. Wright in the legs, because Castor only shifted the line slightly, solely for the purpose of framing Trucy. As such, he had to make sure that Mr. Wright was killed prior to the show, so he couldn't be sure the saw would do more than wound him. That's the reason for Castor trying to suffocate Mr. Wright. But even so, he only managed to make Mr. Wright comatose. Maybe because he only had a short time frame to do it. I see. That does seem to make sense.
Objection!
You want to get ahead of yourself, Your Honor. After all, we still await the results of the investigation. Yes, you're right. It could all turn out to be nothing. All the pieces are falling into place. Will the evidence back me up? Oh, why are you back? So we meet again, Apollo. Why are you back, Castor? Miss Von Karma, what do you have for us? Can confirm Apollo Justice's theory. What? Yay! Curtains in the box both contain trace levels of carbon dioxide. Yes. And the fire extinguisher has clearly been used. I knew it. Your Honor, this new information clearly exonerates Trucy Wright. I cannot believe this. Miss Von Karma, what in the dying message? Did you analyze the bottom of the box? We did, Your Honor. And? Come on. Just... There was nothing. No! The only possible hope of decisively proving it was Castor. Oh God. Shut up. It's over, Apollo. You lose. But? What about the fire extinguisher and the trace carbon dioxide? This can't all hinge upon the message at the bottom of the box. There's no proof that it was Patrick Castor did any of these things. There were no fingerprints on any of those objects. As far as we know, could be entirely unrelated to the crime. A final message from Mr. Wright would prove that he was attacked before the show. Guess he wouldn't have had time to write one if he was really the saw that did the final blow. But a final message from Mr. Wright at the bottom of the box. There's a way to prove that Mr. Wright was killed before the show. You're spot on, Your Honor. And since there's no final message, that means that it was Miss Trucy Wright who committed the crime. Oh, fucking hell. But... God, how pathetic. Your stammer would shame any true performer. Mr. Castor, do not violate the decorum of my court. My dearest apologies, Your Honor. I only wish to clear my innocent name. Liar. You said it yourself. It's all your sick, twisted method of taking revenge. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Face it, son. Try as you might to defame me to save your sweet sister. You couldn't do it. The crimes of the Gramier clan have finally caught up. You call this revenge. I call it just fucking hell. Built a case upon a house of cards. And now it comes crashing down. Apollo! What do we do? I'm scared, Apollo. I have no need to take revenge. What's happened has been by your own hand. After all, it was you who brought this to court, no? It's all up to me now. Can't find any last message on the bottom of that box. Castor gets away with it, and Trucy goes to prison. Mr. Wright. You must have trusted in me. Trusted me to bring justice for Trucy. To do so, you must have known that I need one last piece of evidence. Okay. Your Honor, I can prove. I can show you Mr. Wright's final message in the box. Well, alright. Okay. Final message that implicates Patrick Castor in the crime. We're going this route. Apollo, are you sure about this? I get where you're coming from thematically. Good to see you try, Apollo. How about we turn up the heat on your slanderous attempt? Watch and learn, world. Watch the fate of the Gramier clan is sealed. Forever. Afraid I must agree with the witness here. Seems like a stretch even for you, Mr. Justice. This is it, Justice. It's time to trust in Mr. Wright. Trust in myself. I trust in justice. There's a dying message in there. It's cryptic. Mr. Wright might have only had moments to scratch it out. So whatever it is, there must be evidence to help me figure it out. Gig is up, Castor. So Mr. Wright's final message that implicates you in his crime. What? Let me show you what we're looking at here. This is another thing that we haven't. It's just another thing that we just have never seen before until fucking now. Until now, because reasons. You see the I'm guessing we're going to say that's a C they're pointing to. I don't know. Why not? This evidence proves it? Or... why? I don't know why this is the evidence that proves it, but sure.
Take that!
Guess we'll find out. One final message. That's all it took. Ha! You've got nothing. Give it up, Apollo. Tell me, Castor, what's your favorite constellation? What? Favorite? What the hell you on about? Answer the question, witness. The Gemini, of course. What my theater is named after. Oh, alright. That's what that is. That's the game. What? I'd like to direct your attention to a certain part of the box. Okay, yeah, let's zoom in and enhance. Yes, please, that would be nice. You see this mark? Yes, but what about it? It's the Gemini constellation, Your Honor. What that would mean? These last moments before falling unconscious, Mr. Wright scratched down the Gemini constellation. Logo of Gemini Theater. He did this while in a very cramped box. And sole proprietor? Patrick Castor. Patrick Castor. I indict you for the attempted murder of Phoenix Wright.